Yeah, I would call this the Thursday, October 14th meeting of the Police Service Board for the town of Tecumseh to order. I note that Mayor McNamara is here, Deputy Mayor Becchetti. The provincial member Mark Gomes has sent his regrets. I know provincial member Paul Sweet is here, and Chris Hales, I'm the chair, and I am here. Representing the Ontario Provincial Police this month is our Staff Sergeant Jamie Smith. Both Inspector Glenn Miller and Sergeant Byron Hornick have sent their regrets. Our recording secretary today is Jennifer Alexander, as Ellen Proichat is not well, she's not with us, and our IT support is given by Dave Dorian. So we're all set to go. With regard to the agenda for this afternoon's meeting, is there any declaration of pecuniary interest by any member of the board with regard to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to item D of our agenda, and that's approval of the agenda. And I'm looking for a motion that the agenda for the Police Service Board meeting dated Thursday, October 14th, 2021, as duplicated and delivered to the members thereof be accepted. Looking for a mover. Paul, thank you. And seconded by Joe, all in favor. Thank you. We are short-handed here, so these things will go through very quickly. Looking for the approval of our previous meetings. We had two. We had a special meeting as well as a regularly scheduled meeting. I'm looking for a motion that the regular minutes of September 29th meeting 2021 Police Service Board, and also the special meeting on October 6, 2021 of the Police Service Board meeting be as duplicated and delivered to the members thereof be adopted. And I'm looking for a mover, Mayor McNamara, seconded by someone has to do that. Thank you, Paul. All in favor? Thank you. And that will move on. Delegations, there are none. So we are right into our Ontario Provincial Police monthly overview. And Jamie, I think you are presenting September. It's the overview. So I would ask you, Jamie, when it comes up, refer to the specific page numbers. So that Dave can keep up with you and show it to anyone else who is with us online. We can certainly go there. So Jamie, please, you would take it over.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Your Worship, Mr. Chair. I'll present the September overview. And Dave, if you're able to just go to page 3, and we'll start out with the top calls for service. Okay, looks like it's saying page 15 there for some reason. That's okay. Just want to see if it's the same that I have. Okay, top calls for service. It seems to be the same thing month to month with the alarms, MVCs, the traffic complaints, bylaw, and traffic enforcement seem to be the top 5 each month. You can see down near the bottom, domestics. We had 13 of them. We normally don't see them too often in here, but I can tell you that most of them were just verbal domestics. There was no criminal charges laid in regards to that. So mental health calls are up a bit, and we're seeing that across the board. You know, in Lakeshore, you can see quite a few there. In Kingsville, also Essex, we're seeing those calls going up. If you can go to page 5, it might just be it'll be total calls for service. Okay, we're down a bit there this month. Overall, there's a 7.6 increase for 2021 compared to 2020, but in Tecumseh we did go down a little bit there. The next page, the violent crime for September. So you can see in there we've had a 10.3 decrease there. We went, from 11 in 2019 to 8 in 2020 down to 4. And checking into those calls for service, they were basically a threats call and an indecent act call that we had in regards to that. Property crimes, we are seeing an increase, and I'm sure you've heard a little bit on the social media about the car thefts and that. We're starting to have the people entering vehicles. In regards to Tecumseh, I see we went up to 30 compared to 20 last year. And when I looked at those calls, some of the calls were a swing was stolen from the front porch of a residence. I saw that before too, where some statues were stolen. There's been some packages stolen again, going back to the porch pirates, the gas thefts, and catalytic converters. We had a few of them, and quite a few of them weren't just here in town. It was down in the industrial area and around Walker Road in North Talbot where we experienced those catalytic converter thefts. If you go to the next page, motor vehicle collisions, we are seeing an increase in them, and I'm not sure if that's just the return to school, people going back to work. A lot of people are returning to work, not working from home as much. For fatals, we did see a fatal in Kingsville, and that's where a vehicle left the roadway and unfortunately struck a female that was working in her front yard with her husband. So that was very tragic to see. The next page, please, Dave. The impaired, we did have one impaired in Tecumseh last month. We have seen a 50% decrease in relation to that. So that's good when we see that. Driver's license suspensions, you can see other than Lakeshore, Provincial as well, that'll be the 401 Highway 3, but we did have 7 driver's license suspensions. So those will be the stunt driving, unfortunately, people speeding above 50 kilometers in those areas. And we do have officers here in Tecumseh that pay particular attention to certain areas where we know those vehicles are speeding, North Talbot being one, County Road 22 being another. You can go to the next page, please. The criminal code charges, we were up quite a bit there. When I checked into that, we had some stolen vehicle charges, the impaired over 80, the threats call, the indecent acts call. And that stolen vehicle will be in relation to what I talked about last month with the property crimes, and some of that was cleaned up some more, where a vehicle was dumped nearby, and we found keys on an individual that linked that person to that vehicle. So they were charged with possession of stolen property. Drug offenses, we're not seeing anything in regards to that. We're seeing a decrease. Seems to be we're in Leamington mostly with the illegal grows, and that kind of has calmed down as of late. If you flip to the next page, David, to the POA charges. POA charges, and I know your worship, we talked about this last month with some of the criminal charges. They were down last month, but it looks like we have gone up. Looking at it, looks like we're leading the county other than our provincial units, and that'll be our traffic guys that just answer traffic complaints along the 401 Highway 3, and they're out there just doing charges. They're not so much doing the domestics and the neighbor disputes and all the other calls for service. So that's good to see. The traffic stops, we're seeing 85 last month, and people received multiple tickets with the 106 PONs that were issued and only 85 traffic stops. And we are seeing a decrease overall, but we did see an increase in Tecumseh, which is good. If you go to the next page, Dave. Again, you can see all across the board, we're seeing a 39% increase in mental health response calls. So that's tying up our officers a lot of times. And, with the units, as you know, from the special meeting we had, hopefully we can divert those individuals away from the hospital and not tie up paramedics, not tie up the hospital, and put those people in crisis in contact with the proper people. 911 hangups are relatively the same. Next page, please. False alarms, we're at 37. Ride programs, there were none last month in Tecumseh. Foot patrol hours, we're at 72. We didn't have any bike or ATV patrols, and our auxiliary hours were at 29. And then finally, the next page. In Tecumseh, just a notable investigation was one of a female that was purchasing lottery tickets with fraudulent $50 bills. This was kind of going across Toronto area and working their way down here. So we were able to identify the individual, and that person is wanted. At some point, she will be picked up. But yeah, I think that's it for the report, and I'm open to any questions, comments.
Just, if I may, Mr. Chair, through you.
Please do.
To,
and David, you could take that off the screen, unless you want to refer to that, Your Worship.
no, you can go back here.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
We've seen a little bit of an uptick too of vandalism in our parks, lakeshore parks. I can't speak for the others, and it seems a kind of a common approach between both of them, especially destroying the washrooms and so forth. I don't know if there's any movement, or if you've any arrests, or you're still investigating them in that regard. It's kind of quiet down now. Obviously, we shut everything down in that regards, and I don't know if it's just a bunch of teenagers that are bored and they think that it's a lot of fun to destroy public property.
Yeah, and I don't believe anybody has been arrested. I think we've put some stuff out on social media, and I know this is happening across the province, and if not nationally, and it seems to be some TikTok sensation or something, telling the kids, or somebody's going into the bathrooms and destroying the toilets or the sinks and vandalizing property, and that kind of took off for some reason, and maybe that had something to do with it. I know you have had vandalism in the past to some of the soffits and fascia and East Troughs at one of the parks there and that, but no, I'm not aware of any arrests at this point, but am well aware of the damage that has been committed.
For the record, if I might, Your Worship, is I think Kingsville also had to shut down some of their public facilities, and I think I also heard that Amherstburg has some problems here. So
I'm almost wondering if it's the same crew that's doing this, and just going from one area to the next.
Or copycats, people seeing that, gee, that looked like fun. Those kids got away with it. Maybe we could do the same thing. Yeah. I think the sad part is that costs our ratepayers a significant amount of money, and it's either we invest the money, reopen again, and wonder if it's going to happen again, or we take that privilege away from all our citizenry because of a small minority of people who are taking advantage and doing stupid things. It's a no-win situation for sure. Are there any other questions or comments? Paul, please.
I see you, Mr. Chair, to the Staff Sergeant. I was just wondering, do the officers have the ability on false alarms to issue a POA ticket? Jamie, is there a set fine for that? Just curious, because that number seems to be high, every month, and just wondering if they have that ability, or if it would help.
So there was a tracking mechanism in place, and maybe Your Worship can comment on that. I know the town, after a certain number of alarms, I believe it's 3, they do start getting charged $100, I believe it is, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you are correct, Staff Sergeant. And what we try to do is then, our fire department, the inspectors that go in and kind of, if it's an ongoing issue, if it's a maintenance issue, try to get it fixed up. But we usually are pretty strict in terms of trying to minimize them, because a lot of them are coming in from Oldcastle area, and we've got 300 plus shops in that area, and try to obviously not tie up our officers and others. So it also applies for false fire alarms, and a lot of times we'll get alarms in our long-term care facilities where one of the patients or whatever, they pull the alarms and so forth. So, but it's basically 3 strikes and then you pay.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Well, then I would look for a motion that that the reports for the month of August and September be received. I'm looking for a mover. Thank you, Joe, and seconded by the mayor, and all in favor. Thank you.
Yeah,
Jamie?
just one more. It was nice to see not that I really like to see the POAs, but them up and on the traffic piece, because it's that ongoing thing. We had one counselor on Tuesday make a comment and so forth. And I was going to say, if there was some issues that maybe our traffic group, the OPP, that go from one area, I call them the zero tolerance folks. It would be a bad idea to kind of bounce them around in a few spots within the community, but I'm glad to see this, and I think I wouldn't mind having this portion of it sent to council through an email in particular, because nice to know that the increase of POAs and traffic citations are up. So the OPP are there. They're doing their job.
I saw a hand come up for Deputy Mayor Becchetti. Joe, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, just to add to Mayor McNamara's comment on, these issues are all over town. It's not just concentrated in one area. And it seems that one particular gets raised all the time. And I'll say it's Ward 2, St. Clair Beach. But if you look at that area, you look at kilometers, like they're 40-kilometer roads in terms of traffic calming. There's a lot there. There's roundabouts. There's, we put those, what do you call the things on the street? There's, besides having a police officer at every corner, they can't. So they're speeding on North Talbot. They're speeding on McNorton. They're speeding on intersection. At the end of the day, I know it's expensive, but you get those little radar that John Tory in Toronto has put up, and he's making a lot of money with tickets. We just don't have the volume to afford that. But having said that, you cannot control a driver's decision to speed and not. It's not the police. The police are there to protect and serve and do their best. So yeah. I get it. People want things done and they want that rectified. But sure, even if you hire a police officer dedicated to that, if he's doing radar on Riverside, he's not doing on intersections. So it's not going to solve that. So that was my only comment.
No, but that's the point. Is I like to bring the outside crew in, and usually after they leave, there's a real calmness in the area because they don't know where they are, and that's the beauty of the traffic control.
I may be making too broad a statement, but if you look at the roads that we're referring to, those are transit roads. We have a lot of people coming through Tecumseh and heading to work, heading home from work, and they're not using the bypass or Tecumseh Road. They want to get on Riverside Drive for whatever inane reason, I don't know, and they come down Brighton Road and Riverside at a clip. Welcome, Margaret. We were stalling for time, waiting for you. So
I have to beg your forgiveness,
no,
Chair. I'm so sorry.
Not at all. So yeah, I agree. Mayor McNamara and Deputy Mayor Becchetti, it is an issue, and it seems like it's an issue because of where we're situated with regard to people trying to get to and from work. And those roads are nice straight lines, and they want to get going to work and get going home. And it's just it's a problem. I want to ask, just this is right off of the topic, but I think we're kind of kill traffic. So when I go up to Toronto to see the grandkids, I often wonder about the 400 series OPP officers that patrol. That's a zoo. I mean, 401, 403, 407, the Queenie, the Gardner, that's a zoo. Do the officers who patrol that, do they have a longevity at that, or do they, like after a couple of years, they just need to get away from that? Like, I think every day you would be taking your life in your hands, trying to sort out traffic and making stops at the volume of traffic they see out there.
Yeah, I think those guys there, they love it. We've got an officer that works the 401 and, this past traffic initiative that we did with the aerial enforcement and that, he gets a lot of our stats, and he's out there every day. And I ask him all the time, how does he keep going at the pace that he goes? Like I'd burn out, and he puts up probably, I'd say he's number one in the Ontario Provincial Police for stats. Like he's usually about 1,200 a year. So 100 a month, he's going out there each and every day. So, and I'm sure he'll top that this year. And I appreciate your comments to both the mayor and the deputy mayor. At the end of the day, we do our best out there in regards to the traffic, but people have to look at each other at the end of the day, and we can't control people's driving habits. We can only, issue the tickets and hope that, through education or through a ticket that they change their behaviors. But there's always another new driver on the road. There's another new driver coming to our area. And, we get blamed a lot of times, just reading social media, not that I should be going there too much, but, what are the police doing about this? What are the police doing about that? And it's sometimes, like, how about, I don't want to say blame each other, but talk to each other about, with your neighbors and that, because a lot of times we are finding, it is people in the neighborhood that are racing up and down that road.
Absolutely.
All
Good
right.
point.
And if there's no other points, we've already moved to adopt those reports. So I think we'll move on to item H, which is the reports. And I've asked our vice chair, Paul Sweet, to make a report on the Zone 6 meeting that was held, again, Zoom meeting, September the 28th. Paul, if you would go ahead.
Unmute here. Yes, just briefly, I'll just touch a few points that directly kind of may impact on interesting for our board. There was a delegation there from the Administrative Solicitor General, supposedly that was, I guess, information on the new changes to the Police Services Act, and more specifically the board regulations. And really, they had nothing to provide to us. That was just, nothing back. And there's all these big questions that are out there in the province, and everybody has submitted their proposals, and there's just no feedback anywhere right at the moment, as far as back on the September 28th. So that was a bit unfortunate not to hear at least some kind of feedback. But in any case, we did have a look at the new OAPSB portal, web portal, and they're at the point now where hopefully they're going to start uploading documentation to it. So it'll be a benefit to the boards when that format changes, and allow us better access to a lot of materials. So looking good. Under the communication section, interesting enough, we attended, there was a session on alternate policing, and it came up at the OAPSB in a kind of a provincial format, and it was interesting that not surprisingly, there's a ton of union pushback for any type of alternate policing provisions, and it also there's a roundtable that is working and trying to come up with some breakthroughs as far as that's concerned. But they're getting one of the big ones is post-traumatic stress is a huge issue and how to deal with it. And they're trying, I guess, so they're at the table with workmen's compensation, trying to sort out or find some information, because it all boils down. There's a duty to accommodate, and if you try and find alternate positions for police officers, then you have the question of, well, all the police officers who were in these positions that are being accommodated, what happens to them now? What happens? So that's a huge issue to muddle through. So that'll be interesting to see what comes out of that in the next year or so. Other than that, to say there was some talk about the 2021 labor conference, trying to, I guess, somewhat entice the Section 10 board's interest in it, but I don't think anybody from the Section 10 boards could really see any value in that. So in any case, there was a request for funding, and there was $500 that was approved by the association to support that. So
begrudgingly, Begrudgingly.
Begrudgingly, yes. Because they're trying to make a pitch that there really wasn't anything there was no one at the bat, that's for sure. So in any case, that's just a bit of a summation, but unfortunately we didn't get information in a couple areas that we were hoping for, but certainly there's going to be a lot of things flowing out of that alternate policing provisions as we move forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. Are there any questions for Paul? I have one comment with regard to this fall labor seminar. It was touted that there was something for everyone there. It was I don't know, it was kind of like the carnival or something. But when you looked at the agenda, and they published their agenda, the things that were aimed at Section 10 boards were all updates on the regulations to the Act. There are no updates. So we would have spent money to be a part of that, to really have been no further down the road. So I applaud our board's decision not to fund that fall seminar over the last several years. They still have a small component where they're trying to look at how to deal with whipsaw bargaining and pattern bargaining. And that's fine for the Section 31 boards, but I think those of us under OPP contract, there's very little else in that fall seminar that would move us forward, both knowledge base or financially. So, Paul, I thank you for that, and I'd entertain a motion that the Vice Chair's verbal report of the OAPSB Zone 6 meeting held on September 28th in virtual format be received. I'm looking for a mover. Thank you, Your Worship, and a seconder. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Becchetti. All in favor? Thank you. We're passed. Okay, we'll move on to communications. Action required, and the Ontario Association of Police Service Boards dated September 17th regarding the labor conference registration, and also the Ontario Association of Police Service Board sponsorship for the labor conference. Does anyone have any interest in either going to that or sponsoring it? Because we did sponsor it at the Zone 6 level. I agree with your head shake, Your Worship. So let's move on. I would have a motion that we'll just receive the correspondence.
Yeah.
So moved, thank you, and seconded by Paul. All in favor? Thank you. We'll move on. Communications for information purposes only. There are none. Old business, our 2022 police and police service board budgets. And Margaret, I'm hoping you're presenting because I've reviewed it, but I don't feel qualified to run through it.
Yes. If you're ready, Your Worship, I can take it away.
Please do.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Oh, boy, we're even going to get it up on the screen. Awesome. Thank you. So just by way of background, the OPP contract was renewed in 2021 for a 3-year term through to the earlier of December 2023 or the date that the Community Safety and Policing Act comes into force. So we're at neither at the moment. So that puts us in a little bit of a state of continuing on with the contract. And in accordance with Paul's report out on the lack of information or lack of progress on detachment boards, we are left with the prospect of essentially passing a budget as per usual with respect to our existing policing service contract and our existing police service board. So we have done that, and what you're seeing on the screen is, first of all, the police budget proposed for 2022. And what it shows is that there is a significant decline in grants anticipated in 2022. And that is the issue there is that the old community policing grants have been discontinued, and the switch in strategy through the Solicitor Generals is to offer these grants that are more oriented towards projects that are undertaken at the detachment level for, in our case, towards abating or mitigating the way that mental health or distress related calls are happening. And so the application was recently submitted, as the members will recall, by the Essex County OPP to the Solicitor General for a mobile crisis response team enhancement grant, which if obtained would be administered the same way as the grant that we're just coming off of. The RIDE program, we have information, will continue to be funded to April of 2022, and applications for the period 2022 to 2024 have not yet been announced. So we put in some for RIDE. The province initiated a program to review court security and prisoner transport in 2020, but we have no results from that either. And then user charges, we have decreased the parking fines revenue by about $3,000 to more accurately reflect actuals. So we're seeing on the revenue side some fairly substantive declines in what we can expect for revenue. On the expenditures side, there have been some substantive decreases and some small ones. We've decreased the office supplies and equipment maintenance by $300 to more accurately reflect usage. Photocopying costs, a new machine has been installed at the detachment office here next to Town Hall very recently. The OBP contract amount of $3.4 million reflects a decrease of 3.35%, but still includes a negotiated wage settlement, 2% for uniform staff and 1% for civilian staff. A credit for the 2020 year-end adjustment of $9,647 has also been realized, and additional funds. This also includes additional funds for policing of community events, so our standard $10,000 is in there, and our contingency for the 2021 contract reconciliation is in there at $20,000. Last year we had increased it, but since we received a credit for 2020, we're anticipating that we probably, even if there is an overrun, it should be contained within the $20,000. So the contract services on the draft budget also includes amounts for the janitorial contract and the RIDE program. And utilities, hydro, water, those are all, the OPP building gets its sort of fair share of increase, so that's up by 5.65%. And insurance, which continues to be a cost driver within all aspects, all facets of the municipality, is up by $700 or 17.5%. So to get those adjustments, our finance people reach out to the insurance provider to try to get an estimate based on market trends, and then they distribute that amongst all departments and services of the town. In terms of, so that is giving us at the end of the line here, net expenditure decrease, taking in all the decreases in revenues, but then the offsetting decreases in expenditures. The police budget is actually coming down, apparently for the first time in Ellen's recollection. I can say that on her behalf. And by the way, she regrets not being here. I'm sure that was all covered at the outset of the meeting, but poor Earl is quite ill. $18,088 is what we are projecting as a decrease, or 0.53% over 2021. So that is welcome news, I think, across the organization, and certainly for this board, I would imagine. So if we can go to the draft police services board budget, here it is. And here, there are no revenues, but we have kind of put back some of the professional development funds from last year's pandemic, sort of slicing them in half. So there will be a credit back of some of those in anticipation that at least some of the events that are normally enjoyed by the board would be back as in-person events, but also anticipating that some will remain virtual, or that there may be a choice and people may choose to attend virtually. So that is the main kind of cost driver on the PSB budget for 2022, which constitutes a 10.18% lift and an overall budget of net expenditures of 38,403. So we are recommending that the proposed 2022 budget for policing of net 3.398786 million, reflecting a 0.53% decrease, and for the Police Services Board of 38,403, reflecting a 10.18% increase, be approved by the Tecumseh Police Services Board and be recommended for consideration and approval by Town Council. And subject to the board's favorable consideration of that recommendation, the action required would be the development of a presentation on the 2022 police budget for presentation by the chair of the Police Services Board at the regular council meeting of November 9th, 2021. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's my report.
Well, Margaret, thank you. I'll open up for any questions from the board with regard to the budget. Mayor Bacchetti, you are on mute.
Thank you, Chair Hale. Just a question, Marg. I know insurance has always been a big thing, even at the county. We looking at how we can save and reduce those costs. With COVID, you would think, I know residential homes and auto insurers, they gave a break to homeowners during COVID in 2020 because you weren't driving your car. Everything was closed. Would it not make sense that that would also trickle down to municipalities where if the arena, the facility is closed, there's no one going into the building? So what kind of liability, like should those costs be either status quo or less? Has anyone asked that question, why it seems like they're still going up compared to, you know, the facilities being closed?
Absolutely, and I'm quite sure that the mayor can speak quite eloquently about this as well. But we are in a hard insurance market, and what happens locally or even in a particular sector like municipalities is of no consequence to the global trends that the insurance industry is contending with, and we are all landed with a piece of that, and that's why we're seeing the increase. And a lot of companies actually dropping out of the insurance industry as a result of it. So more consolidation within the industry as well. But that's my response, and I'll turn it over to His Worship for further elaboration.
Mayor McNamara.
No need. You hit all the points that I was going to make, and no, you did justice. And you know, we're in the. I'll finish up. We are in a hard market. And it is what it is.
Yeah, I know too that a lot of business sectors, a lot of personal sectors, people with auto insurance are pushing back at the billions of dollars of profit shown during the pandemic by the insurance industry, while they talk poor and point out to flooding and you know, out in Winnipeg and down in the southern states, and saying that all rolls in, and because they're international companies, that's our area doesn't count. It's the whole world they have to look at. But
yeah, I'll just add, because of that, there's the hard market, the reinsurance of the market, the Lloyd's of London and so forth, have basically, you know, an insurance company will sell to the next one to protect themselves. Yeah. Nobody wants municipalities, public sector, period. That's the reality. And that's why I know that I'll end by LAS is working with you know, a consultant out of Newfoundland actually, and also with an insurer out of the US that have they're looking at a different proposal for municipalities. So everybody that are associated with municipalities are trying to work towards finding a better way. But in the meantime, there doesn't seem to be clear relief in the near future.
I'm sure that the insurance industry, your worship, would just say, what's the upside to dealing with it? Show me the upside to deal with the municipality. It's all liability. It's just, Okay, any other questions, comments? Then I would ask, Margaret has been eloquent in the motion, so I'd ask your worship, thank you. And a seconder? Paul, thank you. All in favor? Thank you so much. We'll pass.
Anytime
Okay.
you get a reduction from the police service board budget or the police services budget, that's good news. So
Yeah, as Margaret says, I'm only sorry that Ellen couldn't be here because she's the most amazing computer. Like, I mean, she can go back and back and back and back and remind you of your little errors. So yeah, it's true. This is amazing. Okay, we have any other new business? I have nothing on the agenda. Does anyone have anything to bring up? This is been quite a quick meeting here. Yay for us. It's good. Yeah. Not seeing none, I would note that the next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, December the 9th, 2021 at 4:30. And I am looking for a motion that there being no further business to discuss, the Thursday, October 14th, 2021 meeting of the Tecumseh Police Service Board adjourned. I'm looking for a mover. Paul, seconded by Deputy Mayor Becchetti. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you for your attendance. Jamie, thank you so much for your presentation. You were the lone wolf today, so you did a great job for us. Thank you so much.